right, welcome back to Gonzo, Mike, and a VCR. I'm Gonzo.
This is Mike.
As you know, we're going to discuss some of the best and worst movies from the 80s, 90s, and beyond. We're going to give you our take, make a little recommendation, and then we'll give each movie a rating. So let's get started. Is your cell phone silenced, Michael?
It is.
All right, mine too. So in this episode, we're going to talk about, we're going all the way back to 1980. This is one of your picks. It is the movie 9 to 5. Right now, I looked into this a little bit. This film didn't do too bad. It grossed 103.9 million at the box office, and in 1980, that's not really bad, right? Something I didn't know, there was a TV series based on the film, ran for 5 seasons in the 80s. Have you ever seen that?
I have not. That was surprising to me.
Yeah, and as recently as 2009, they made a musical stage adaptation that opened in Broadway, and it had new, fresh songs in it from Dolly Parton. So that was pretty special. I don't remember hearing about that. I guess 2009 is a little while back here. So the American Film Institute surprisingly lists it as number 74 in its 100 funniest movies list, and this thing got a 69 somehow on Rotten Tomatoes. It was nominated for an Academy Award for Best Original Song, and that song, sung by Dolly Parton, we'll talk about her in a minute, won Grammy for Best Female Country Vocal Performance and that year's Best Country Song. So there were some things, some accolades there. So, okay, for those who haven't seen it, we're going to let Mike, this is his pick, explain us what happens in this movie. What's the plot there, Mike?
Sure. So just a down and dirty. The movie centers on three women. They're working at this corporate location called Consolidated Company. So you got Violet Newstead, who's played by Lily Tomlin. She plays the smart, capable office supervisor who's repeatedly getting passed over for promotion. Then there's Judy Burnley, played by Jane Fonda. Judy is a recently divorced newcomer trying to adjust to the workforce. And then last we got Dora Lee Rhodes, like you said, played by Dolly Parton. Dora Lee is a friendly secretary to their boss, who's the villain of the movie. And she's also rumored at the beginning to be having an affair with him. So that boss we're talking about, Franklin Hart Jr. or Frank Hart, played by Dabney Coleman. Back in the day, he'd be that stereotypical awful boss. He's taking credit for others' work. He's sexually harassing Dora Lee, and he treats everybody, especially his female employees, like crap. So, after a series of humiliations early on in the movie that they all suffered from Mr. Hart, Violet, Judy, and Dora Lee, who really haven't known each other up to this point, they bond over drinks. And then they later burn a joint that Violet got from her son. And they sit around sharing revenge fantasies about getting even with Mr. Hart.
Yeah.
So the next day, through a series of misunderstandings and chance involving rat poison, coffee sweetener, and Mr. Hart's broken chair that we see throughout the movie, Violet believes she's accidentally poisoned Mr. Hart's coffee. So when the ladies discover he's actually alive, the situation actually escalates because Roz, who is Mr. Hart's admin assistant, overhears them talking in the bathroom about how they think they've accidentally killed him or they thought they'd killed him, and she tells Hart about it. So Mr. Hart is going to use that against all of them. So they end up kidnapping him, holding him prisoner in his own home, using what looks like a bunch of S&M bondage gear, while they gather evidence of all the illegal things that they found out he's been doing at the company. And they had about 4 weeks to do all this because Hart's wife is out on a cruise. So they got 4 weeks to make all this happen. While Hart is tied up, Violet, Judy, and Dora Lee take control of the office and they make a bunch of changes, but they're still making it look like Mr. Hart is in charge. And so they institute flexible hours, a daycare center, some different changes. Eventually, Hart escapes, tries to reclaim control of the office, but before he can undo the reforms and have the three arrested, the company's chairman returns from abroad, and he's so impressed by the office's new efficiency, positive atmosphere, that he promotes Hart to a position in Brazil, and that effectively removes him from the office. And that was kind of the end. And then we get this closed captioning at the end, which was popular in all those 80s movies from 9 to 5 to Animal House to a bunch of others where they all tell what happened to everybody in the movie.
Yep.
So we're told on the screen, we don't get to see any of this, but the film closes with each one of the women achieving a happy ending. We're told Violet gets a promotion she's been working hard for. Dora Lee leaves the company to become what else? A country and western singer. And Judy falls in love and marries the company's Xerox representative. And because Mr. Hart gets all the credit for the ladies' new office initiatives, when the company's chairman of the board sends him to the new office in Brazil, he ends up eventually getting abducted by a tribe of Amazons in the
Yep.
Brazilian jungle and was never heard from again. And then, of course, it closes out with a song that probably a lot of people are familiar with, the title song "9 to 5."
There you go. There you go.
Anything else to add, Gonzo? Did I miss
No,
anything big?
I don't think you missed anything. I would just add that it's 100% Violet. Lily Tomlin's character does not get promoted only because she's a female. So I mean, there's
Yeah.
no other reason. She's a stellar person. She should get it. But he just actually tells her, "Hey, listen, we want a man in this position."
Yep.
So
Yep. You're absolutely right.
that's the only thing there.
Yeah.
Um, so uh, obviously this is your pick. And so you had seen this movie before. I'm going to tell you, I had seen a few scenes here and there. I had never seen this whole movie before.
Yeah.
And you have. When did you first see this, Mike?
Oh God. Now this goes back to when I was 9 years old. My mom had agreed to babysit one of my cousins who was only like 1 or 2 years old at the time. So in order to give us something to do, she took me and my cousin to the drive-in. And if anybody remembers what drive-ins were, we used to have a drive-in right above the house where I grew up. My cousin cried throughout most of the movie. So I spent about half of the movie sitting on the hood of the car trying to watch it with drizzling rain coming down. And then I saw some people we knew and I got in their car, watched the rest of it with them. So not the greatest viewing experience. But yeah, so I had seen it before.
Okay, so yeah, that's interesting, a drive-through, because even though you said, and I know many people have not been to one, but my son, who is 22, he just went to one. Or is he 21? Geez, I should remember this. um he's going to be 22 this next July, but he just went to a drive-through in Pennsylvania a couple weeks ago. So there's still some drive-throughs out there. And he saw the new Conjuring film, and he said it was a strange experience. But anyway, yeah, there still are some around. So, um, so what's your first take on this movie, Mike? What was your first take when you were 9, and what's your take on it when you rewatched this thing?
Yeah, and probably like everybody else, when you're 9 years old, the bar is at a totally different place. And so I do remember I thought it was cute. Of course, the song was catchy, and you had that at the beginning, and then again at the end. Um, as a 9 year old, the biggest thing I remember, it had those over the top scenes where the women were fantasizing about getting rid of the boss. So as a kid, that was fun to watch because I remember one of the scenes was animated. Of course, at 9 years old, you like cartoons,
Yeah.
and then they were just really silly. But at 9 years old, you love some silly.
Sure, sure. Okay, okay. Um, and well, I'm going to tell this. I'm going to give you a chance here to talk about you're changing perspective being older. But I'm just going to say my first take, this movie is super corny. It's
Uh-huh.
extremely hard for me to suspend as much disbelief as I had to. I think probably one of the only reasons I actually was able to like get through this thing without pulling my hair out was because I'm like, hey, I'm doing this for Mike. It's on
That's
his
right.
list. So you got to tell me your perspective changed when you watched it as an adult, and just like this last time you watched it for prepping for this podcast here.
Sure.
It changed. Your perspective changed.
Uh Yeah, and I know we'll touch on this several times. One of the things that's changed, I agree with you. It was a goofy movie, and a younger person probably gonna like it more. Um, One of the things that changes is we always have to judge movies in the context when they came out. And some of this, I have no doubt that women and others are being marginalized in the workplace at some level. Uh, but and you probably did not see a lot of women in positions of high management back in the day. I mean, I'm sure that was a thing, at least a lot more than it is now. Today, I've had multiple female bosses, and just like male bosses, some of them are good, some of them sucked. But so this movie, even the plot, in my opinion, I don't think it aged that well. But again, it was made when it was, and it had a message at that time.
Okay, okay, okay. So we're going to go through these characters. I know you told us a little bit about them.
Yeah.
So Jane Fonda as Judy Burnley. I'll start with her. I've never liked her politics, but she is a good
Mhm.
actress. She does a decent job here. Was actually she's the type of person. It was almost a bit hard for me. You can tell me what you think about this too.
Mhm.
To get her playing someone when she was being incompetent. She's new to the workplace. She's been like a housewife or whatever, and then this is her first job probably, since before she was married. And like I don't even, it's like she does a good job, but it's almost like I just can't believe she'd be that incompetent because she's just not that much of a knucklehead. But she is a good actress, and does a decent job in this situation. How'd you feel about her performance, man?
Yeah, not like you said, Gonzo. I had to try to suspend the disbelief there, and I'm thinking, okay, maybe she's never worked in an office, never worked in a corporate environment, never been around even a copier. And there was a funny scene with her in it where she has no idea how to run a copier. And for perspective, just so people understand, in this movie, because technology was where it was at the time, the copier took up half of an entire room by itself. Nowadays, you can have a copier in a corner of an office. But yeah, she comes to the office on her first day wearing that huge hat, which I guess was supposed to symbolize I don't even really understand how to professionally dress. She looked very nice, but she was overdressed with the hat. She had lost her husband to a secretary that he was having an affair with. And then Hart is ripping her a new one on the first day because she didn't know how to use that copy machine. So I'm with you. I've never been a fan of her politics, and if you think that's a harsh criticism, you kind of have to go back and look at it in perspective. But just like you, I think she's a fantastic actress. I think probably my favorite role of her ever, maybe not for the acting chops, was Barbarella, but that's a different show for a different day.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, this is definitely a step down for her, this movie, in my opinion. Um, and the character, all right, I get it. It's almost like everything's a little exaggerated here. I get for the comedic value of it. Yeah, they used to have copy rooms, right? That like now, like
Mhm.
you say, it could be in the corner, but they actually had to have a separate room for it. So okay, Violet Newstead, Lily Tomlin. What did you think about her character and her? Because I know she's done a lot of stuff, Mike, but I can't
Yeah.
put my finger on what she's been in. Besides this, I'm just not she's not in my wheelhouse really. So what's your take on Violet Newstead there?
Yeah, so she trained Hart, who's everyone's boss, and it kind of portrays her as she's probably the most competent person at the company. At least that's how it's portraying her. Hart would probably, if it had a long-term timeline, Hart would probably drag somebody like her with him through his career if he could have, because it showed him as the kind of guy that realized his own level of incompetence in some areas, and if she's that sharp, he would have probably tried to take her with him. She gets the joint from her son that the three main characters smoke. Uh, she doesn't have a college degree that Frank throws up in her face when she doesn't get a promotion, along with, like you said, Gonzo, hey, the guy that she lost promotion to is a man and he has a family, and she's thinking, well, I've got a son and nobody else to support. So she's a good character. I do remember her from some things in the 80s. I think there was a movie. I want to say she was with in All of Me with Steve Martin, where they were playing a split personality or something. But she's
Okay.
been in a lot through the years, but never a huge leading character that I can think of.
Yeah, this I think maybe is one of her biggest spots here. Yeah, she's funny. She's funny in the scenes, even as outlandish and unbelievable as some of them were. Um, and yeah, she's got experience. She's been around. I just can't put my finger on anything. I didn't do any research to see. I figured you'd know a little bit more than me about
Mhm.
that. So it's interesting now that we're having this discussion here. I think about the big things when we were growing up in the 80s, and this is 1980, so late 70s, early 80s. What were
Mhm.
the big topics? It was single, being a single parent was a
Mhm.
big thing that was sort of new, and really getting a spotlight. So Lily Tomlin is playing that, and then divorces started blowing up, right? Like and just it became sort of a normalized thing. And so now we're dealing with getting back into the workforce and a woman being on her own. So that's Jane Fonda plays in that role as well as Lily Tomlin. So that's interesting. Those were some big hot topics back then of just what society was going through. So not that divorces had never happened or anything like that, but it became much more common and accepted. So all right. So move on to Dorley Rhodes. This is Dolly Parton.
Mhm.
This was her first movie. I did look that up. She did well. She played her part, very corny, but
Mhm.
believable in her role as she's sort of supposed to be, the Southern belle who's just in this office setting and who's getting taken advantage of. And I can't believe she keeps her cool as long as she does
Yeah.
with how this guy is harassing her, right? I mean, people would be fired, right, for this
Mhm.
type of activity now. But you know, believable in the role. And I want to say, like, couple things. Like, she actually, if you watched her, I'm glad she got her start here
Mhm.
in a sort of simple thing, because if you saw her in Steel Magnolias, which is a very good movie, she does an outstanding job acting in that movie. And so, like, this is a step towards that. And believe it or not, I got to tell you,
Mhm.
there's a movie that she was in. I don't know if you remember this.
Which
It's
one?
called Rhinestone
Oh
with
yeah.
with Sylvester Stallone. So
Uh-huh.
I would hate to look at what that is on Rotten Tomatoes, but I'm sure it's
Hmm.
pretty low. But I was sort of surprised to see that Rhinestone. So, but yeah, first role does good. What did you think about Dolly? How she did there, man?
Yeah. Well, first of all, since we're talking about her movie career, I don't know if you remember this one or not. My parents actually took me to see this one, and this was one of Dolly's earlier movies. And when I give you the title of it, some people will be like, "There's no way that there was a movie called that back in." She was in the Best Little Whorehouse in Texas.
Yes, with that's with Burt
Burt
Reynolds.
Reynolds,
Yeah, Burt Reynolds,
yep,
right?
Dom DeLuise.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah.
I thought she was the most likable and positive character in the movie. She's in a bad situation. She's got an overbearing boss, constantly sexually harassing her, but she is much more intelligent and dialed in than anyone in the office gives her credit for. And I will say, coming from the South, when you have an accent, and I can't generalize, but when you go outside of the South, and not everybody's like this, they hear the accent, they're going to drop your IQ by about 10 points until they get to know you. So I felt like she was kind of that character. She was the
Yeah,
nice, Southern character. Uh, but she was rumored to be having an affair with Frank Hart, but we find out he's the one spreading the rumor.
yeah.
And it was so funny when the boss said of Dora Lee, he said, "You mean so much more to me than just a dumb secretary."
Oh my
And I
gosh.
thought, what a great compliment.
Yeah, and this guy's buying her gifts and he's knocking things off the desk so he can look at her cleavage when she bends down to pick him up. He's just a terrible guy,
Yeah,
man. I mean,
but
just crazy.
but she's the only person that seems like she can intimidate the boss. And
Yeah.
like she can give him junk back and he'll just take it. And I will say of the three, when they fantasize about taking out the boss, hers was the most unrealistic.
Yes.
You've got Dolly Parton in her prime sexually harassing Frank Hart. And
Yeah.
I'm not saying like in terms of what kind of guy he was, there wouldn't be a lot of downside for him. So I thought, I'm not sure I could buy that. But like you said, it was her film debut, so I thought she did a great job with the role.
Yeah, you know what? Interestingly, and this is something that I read, I'll put it in here because you're talking about the fantasies. The fantasies were brought on by they're having some cocktails at a bar, then they go over to
Mhm.
one of their houses and they smoke that joint that Violet got from her son, and it was Maui Wowie, right? Was
Yeah.
the type of weed it was,
Mhm.
and there's actually like Ronald Reagan went to see this movie
Uh-huh.
with Nancy and made a comment that he said he didn't like the fact because it would send the message to young people who watch the movie that it's
Mhm.
okay to smoke marijuana. So look how far we've come. So
Was was that a lot of encouragement for you, Gonzo?
so so it's just a funny point I've read. So I just thought
Yeah,
I'd throw that in there. So all right, so we go to Franklin M. Hart by Dabney Coleman. So what's your take on him? I mean, we've talked about how much of a jerk this guy is, but how did he do in this role, man?
sure. Uh, and this is funny, and I'm like this with a lot of movies. The villain ends up being my favorite character because they're the most fun to watch. He's probably my favorite character. He's the villain of the movie, but he's a great character because you just can't believe what an asshole this guy is. He reminds me of a boss I used to have when I worked at Rose's as a kid. And if you remember Rose's, it was like it was like a Walmart except on a much smaller scale.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, oh yeah. I think
Interesting.
Dabney Coleman killed this role. And think of how often a good villain is the most interesting character in a movie. I mean, this was right at the end of the 70s, so it was definitely a different time. Uh, and I just love the compliments he would give people. He was telling somebody how attractive they were, and he was like, "Well, thank you." He said, "Yeah, you should see some of the crones that have been coming through here. I'm not even joking." Um, and probably my favorite line by him was when he was talking to Violet, and he's talking about teamwork, and he's giving this speech, and that's when Jane Fonda, Judy was in the office on her first day, and he's talking about teamwork and sports. And he says, Violet, I've been standing up here talking about teamwork, and the next thing I know, you're not there for the handoff. And
There
I,
you
I
go.
don't know how many times I've used that line, but he's a tool to everybody in the movie, not just women, all the employees at the company, his wife, and even the doctor at the hospital. When they think he might have been poisoned, he was like, I know what your scam is here. I'm getting the hell out of here."
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny they did set up from the very start what happened for, like he did actually have coffee that had poison in it, but didn't get a
Hmm.
chance to drink in it because this broken recliner in his office keeps breaking, and he spilled the coffee and then he hit his head. That's why they took him, but they thought he had taken the poison. So yeah, he plays a great harassing entitled jerk. But I got to tell you, way too many outlandish situations here.
Yeah.
Way too many. It's just such a corny movie, Mike. It's just hurting me to watch it. But I got to tell you, what else has he been in? Because like this is the guy. Remember the show Simon and Simon? I always get this guy Dabney Coleman mixed up with one of the Simon and Simon
Yeah,
actors.
Gerald McElraney is
Yeah,
who is
and
who you're.
it's I I know that's my mistake, but like, what else has Dabney Coleman been in? He's been in some other corny roles, correct?
He has what was that spy movie back in the 80s where the little kid is involved in a Cloak and Dagger? Is there a movie called Cloak and Dagger? And then uh,
Maybe,
I think
maybe.
Dabney Coleman plays some kind of either secret agent or military. But you may not have seen this show. I will tell you where I was shocked. I had not thought about Dabney Coleman for probably a couple of decades, and he showed up. I want to say it was Boardwalk Empire.
Boardwalk Empire, really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
which was a fantastic show.
That's like a streaming thing, right?
Yeah, it was on HBO,
Okay.
and it was set back in the I think 20s and 30s around
Okay.
Prohibition time.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So he's done some things, but not, I don't know. I didn't really look that up. So, okay. You talked about Roz, played
Hmm.
by Elizabeth Wilson. That's Hart's eavesdropping administrative assistant. I thought she did a good job. I haven't seen her in anything else. I'm
No.
sure she's been in something somewhere along the line, but I think she was very believable in her role as like a suck up tattler. Like she's going to listen. She's going to kiss up to the boss. She's going to tell on everybody. Anyone says anything, right?
Hmm.
Negative or anything, she's going to let him know. So, and she's sort of like without her in the movie, without her being that way, right? This whole thing doesn't blow up, right?
Yeah.
As far as when they have to take him, as a hostage or this crazy ending thing that happens here. Yeah, had you seen her in anything else or?
I don't remember seeing her in anything before or after. Like you said, I guarantee we could probably look at her filmography and be surprised at the number of things she's been in. But yeah, nothing comes to mind.
Yeah. So I want to move on to Judy's ex-husband. I just put him on here because this is
Hmm.
his name is Dick. He's played by Lawrence Pressman. I have seen this guy in something. I can't tell you where I know him from, but he does it. He's got a minor role. He does a nice job. He's believable as the guy who left his wife for, frankly, I think Jane Fonda's better looking than his secretary anyway. So I don't know why he's leaving her,
No,
but
absolutely.
but what has he been in? What have you seen him in something?
I don't remember him from anything else. But how often do you see a movie years later and you're like, oh wow, I can't believe that dude or that lady was in the movie.
Yeah, I'm feeling like maybe it was something like a Love Boat or Fantasy Island type of thing, like on a TV appearance. I've seen him somewhere,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, he does a nice job. I think he was an idiot for leaving her for the secretary in the first place. Although you know she's better off without him. Judy is so. Um, and then we have this last person that I put here. Um, is Missy Hart. This is Frank's wife,
Hmm.
um, and I thought she did a really great job acting, like the naive woman who loves him, who's totally clueless. I thought her role. I mean, actually, in the acting, I thought she was some of the best acting there to actually pull off that just the air of cluelessness that she did. And I have never seen her in anything. How do you think she did?
Oh, I thought she was awesome. She seemed like such a nice lady,
Yeah,
and she came across as genuinely nice. And if you're like me, I was thinking, okay, she either has to be a complete saint or she's willfully ignorant. Because she finds out that Hart bought Dora Lee a present, and she thinks that's just great. And she's talking to Dora Lee about, you are just so attractive.
yeah,
But she's focusing on going away for that 4 week cruise that she's trying to drag Frank away on. And he's like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. And I don't know if you remember how he described the boat or not. It was an uncomplimentary term.
yeah, 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 yeah,
But
yeah,
that's like you said. You pointed out how the his admin assistant is key to the plot, and it was also key to the plot. It seemed like such a small thing at the beginning, but her going away on that 4 week cruise is key to the plot. Otherwise, this doesn't happen.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, I just thought she did a good job. I totally believable in that role as someone who's clueless. And again, here I'm thinking, I don't think, I think Dick, Judy's ex-husband, should have
Mhm.
stayed with Judy. He had a better deal with Judy. And I think this Frank, he's got this wife who totally loves him and she's totally into him. Why has he got to be creeping around like that? Right. So
Yeah, I
he's
did.
go ahead.
I did want to say something about Dick because you're talking about seeing him in other things. One thing that stands out, and Dick was just a representation of it for me. Uh, there are no significant male characters in this movie with any redeeming qualities whatsoever. Uh,
That's true. That's true.
they are all incompetent, inappropriate, manipulative. It's kind of like every male character that you see on a Lifetime movie.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's true, and that's making a statement too. Women, right? We talked about divorces being much more common. We talked about women going back to the workplace being a huge common thing, and getting out of just being housewives and getting into the workforce. And this is a big thing too. Like, hey, women are like, hey, we're fed up with this. Some of these guys, the way they act, the way they're mistreating us, the way they're taking advantage or taking us for granted, right?
Sure.
Not going to happen anymore. So All right, all right. I got you. So what's your I'm gonna give this to you first. What's your favorite part, favorite scene in this movie? Go for it.
I'll say it's a part because it's more than one scene, but my favorite chunk of this movie has to do when they go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Uh, from the time they go to the hospital and trying to see what's going on with Mr. Hart because they think they poisoned him, all the way to when they've got the body in the car that they think is Mr. Hart. That to me just was. That still holds up to me in terms of just being a funny part of the movie. Uh, they're trying to steal the body at the hospital. She thinks Mr. Hart. I love when a volunteer stopped Violet to ask where the coffee shop is, and then she noticed Violet was a doctor because of the lab coat that Violet had snagged and put on the broom closet. And she said, "Oh, you're a doctor. I didn't see the badge. I'm sorry." And Lily Tomlin looks down and says, "I am a doctor. So what the hell am I talking to you for? Piss off."
Yeah.
And then she leverages that too with the cop when they've got the body in the back of the car, and the cop pulls him over, and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry, you're a doctor," and she holds the badge so he can see it. So, what do you think I am, a beautician? Said, "I've
Yeah.
got a dying woman on my hands, and so you want to look for a short in the trunk." So
Yeah.
I thought that was good stuff.
No, that was good. And as far as for me, this was very hard. This for me to pick a favorite part or scene. there, there, this was like this movie is so overboard the entire film that
Uh,
I'm struggling to come up with it, and it's close to yours. I ended up saying, okay, the thing that did make me laugh was how the interactions with the cop when she says, "I've got a dying woman," and
yeah,
they got the body in the trunk, and
right.
the cop goes, "Who's sick?" And
Uh-huh.
both Judy and Dorley say, "I am," and then
Uh,
they stop and they look at each other and go, "She is," and then Lily Tomlin says, "They both are."
right.
And then she's just going to speed out of there, right? But so that was funny. I liked how that interaction worked because the
Yeah.
cops like, "What the heck is going on here?" Right? And just that was funny, but man, it was hard because most of the other parts I was like, I just can't. I was like, I'm in trouble here finding what my favorite part
Mhm.
will be because there wasn't too many good parts. So
uh,
okay, so least favorite part or stupidest scene. All right,
yeah.
I'm gonna go first here.
Okay.
All of the, I'm calling them dream sequences. They're when they were stoned and they were like telling the others about their sort of their daydream about here's what I would do to Mr. Hart. I think those are so corny and so
Mhm.
bad. I have a huge thumbs down on those. I just hated them. I just
Yeah.
hated them. It's just too much for me. It's too much.
Mhm.
Um, and I even think that gives Maui Wowie a bad name. That's what
Mhm.
you're fantasizing about on this this weed that's supposed to be pretty special here. So all the dream sequences, I call them dream sequences, whatever the fantasies or whatever.
Yeah.
Thumbs down. They're so corny. It's the cartoon thing with Lily Tomlin. That was
Mhm.
hers, right?
Yep.
That is nuts. Like I'm like, what are you doing here? Who's making this movie? So I want to also give a dishonorable mention for
Mhm.
stupidest scene. The entire house part where they're at Hart's house and he's a prisoner,
Mhm.
all tied up in all these things they get at the hardware store or the
Yeah.
sporting goods store. It's just I was like, this is terrible.
Mhm.
And then they have it hooked up to a damn garage door opener, and they
Mhm.
had set you up that Lily Tomlin knows how to run that, right? Because she installed one at her own house. A
Yeah.
lot of setups here, so they're trying to explain how this could happen, but it's just I just can't live with it, man. So, what's
Mhm.
your least favorite part or stupidest scene?
So I think you and I, when we agree, it's usually on the best parts. You and I agree on the worst parts this time because, like I said earlier, my favorite part as a kid and my least favorite part now were the fantasy scenes, where just like you said, where they're all talking about how to get rid of Mr. Hart. I can see why they'd want to do them and that part just, but it just kind of takes me out of the movie. And although I understand Violet's fantasy of poisoning the ball sets up the rest of the plot, where she thinks she accidentally put rat poison in the coffee, but I remember loving those scenes as a kid just because they're so over the top. And also, and this is probably just the way I interpreted it, I actually thought you were going to touch on it kind of this way. It seemed more like they were tripping on acid
Yeah.
than they were smoking a joint.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, oh man, I don't know. It's just crazy. Like, I can't believe someone's writing those scenes and saying, "Oh, well, yeah, that'll be good." Like, and how does this even get,
Yeah.
I, I think 69% on Rotten Tomatoes is way too high,
Hmm.
frankly. It's just rough, right? Um, what additional comments do you have about this
Okay.
movie?
Okay, so I came up with a couple of things. So there are several movies which probably had at least a little inspiration from Nine to Five. So if I'm looking for why it scored so high on Rotten Tomatoes, maybe look at the legacy. I would say at least Horrible Bosses and Office Space come to mind. And from what I understand of the plot of The Devil Wears Prada, which I've never seen, they're kind of the same genre. Having a bad boss isn't a new idea, I'm sure, but Nine to Five did a good job of showing the corporate environment like it probably was in a number of ways in the late 70s, early 80s. I did notice that they talked about flexible schedules, which is now a pretty common thing to find at a company.
Yeah.
They weren't a thing from what I saw from my parents and other adults growing up. Um, in terms of the song, the theme song, that was a crossover hit for Dolly Parton because I remember him playing pop stations back in the 80s. You know what a big fan of 80s music I am. So I don't know if anybody will remember this. Sheena Easton came out with a song in the UK 6 months prior to Dolly's song. It was also called Nine to Five, and they had to change the title to Morning Train to
Oh, yeah,
avoid
yeah,
confusion when it hit the US.
yeah.
So
All
remember
right.
that. Um, when you talked about Jane Fonda's role, I agree. She had the most understated, goofy role, and I almost thought she did it as a courtesy to Dolly and Lily because I found out that the movie was produced by Jane Fonda's company, IPC Films, and was originally slated to be a drama, but they felt like the movie's messages would come across too preachy. So I completely agree with that. I thought it came across a little too preachy in this one. They changed the idea to a comedy, which was going to be a dark comedy, where the ladies actually kill the boss.
Oh, geez.
Uh, but so they changed from that. They wanted to do it lighter. The roles were written specifically for Jane, Lily, and Dolly. And if Lily and Dolly had turned it down, Carol Burnett was the alternate for Dolly. No, she was the alternate for Lily, and then Dolly, her alternate was Anne Margaret.
Oh,
So,
wow.
and the only other thing I would say, and according to internet sources, Gonzo, and you know they're never wrong,
That's right.
Jennifer Aniston is looking to remake Nine to Five
Oh,
and,
God.
and cast Ariana Grande, Sydney Sweeney.
Oh, my
I know both
gosh.
of them and Zendaya. I'm not familiar with Zendaya.
Oh, my God. That's just terrible
So
news. So,
I know you're probably trying to get reserved tickets.
oh, my
So
God. Yeah, this is terrible. You brought up Sheena Easton. What's the name of the song that she changed it to?
Morning Train.
Morning Train. I remember that. What I remember Sheena Easton for too, she did like For Your Eyes Only for the James Bond movie. She was, yeah, big stuff back then.
Oh, she
So,
was awesome. Yeah.
yeah. So, all right. So, additional comments. I'm not just going to just throw this movie under the bus the whole time. This got Dolly this was her first movie role. It made her, this was the first stepping stone for her to becoming a real part of American culture as her music got big. And this was a big hit for her. Like you said, it crossed over into pop. And she was like, people know who she is. She became a household name, not based only on music, but also on all the TV. She does Christmas specials. She's done appearances at the like halftime show for the Dallas Cowboys just recently. Like I think this is like in 2024, maybe 2023. So she's just big and she's still relevant. She's still, I just think this is that first stepping stone. Like she already was a country singer, we know that, but just to
Mhm.
really be more than just just some singer. She's a part of American culture. I think you say her name. I mean,
Mhm.
maybe very, very young people don't know, but like I think like any adult that if we're just gonna walk around and talk to, say hello, everybody knows who Dolly Parton is. Everybody knows.
And
So
it's hard not to love her. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know if any side, any political side, any age group that has negative things to say about Dolly Parton.
yeah, yeah. And another a comment I have on this movie too is as corny as it is, I'm seeing like it's funny how remember like Mr. Mom, we talked about that, and it
Mhm.
was like we talked about how Uncle Buck is like sort of the same thing. Michael Keaton had to learn how to run a household, and this is like in Mr. Mom, on the other side of the coin, Terry Garr had to go into a hostile work environment with a jerk boss and try to learn that. She'd been out of the role. And so this is like now Jane Fonda sort of mirroring that role. So if you think about Mr. Mom came after a couple 3 years after, so maybe John Hughes probably is a fan of this movie. I don't know.
That's a great observation. Yeah, I had not
Yeah,
thought about that.
yeah. So, but I like Terry Garr better. It's outlandish as Mr. Mom was. It was not even close as outlandish as this 9 to 5 was. So it's just crazy. But yeah, this really started Dolly on her way to becoming a real part of American culture. Everybody knows who she is. So okay, the message, the lesson, the moral of the story. I'm going to start here. We're trying to pull this out because we're saying, is it even worth us spending time watching a movie if we're not getting something from it, right? Man, this is just too outlandish, too corny. The only possibility I could see is a message is that you should always treat uh, others with some basic respect. Hart didn't do that. He treated everyone like trash, including his wife, man. And she's so nice to him. He didn't do that, and he paid for it in a number of ways. And it's funny, they had him like just to throw this in there, like, oh, he's getting sent down to Brazil for to live in Brazil and develop this company. Like these days, you say that to someone, 75% of people be like, Brazil, awesome, I'm ready. Like,
Oh,
but like
absolutely.
they made it seem like such a negative thing, and I think that was the times. People didn't really know much about Brazil at the time. The only thing you knew back then was like, hey, Pele, right? He's from there, right? So
Or cartels.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So, but I think a lot of people would be like, "Hey, yeah, I'm getting sent to Brazil to live with my family for he said 2 or 3 years." Like a lot of people would jump at that, right? So,
Yeah.
but anyway, that's I can't really find a message or a moral of the story. What did you come up with?
Well, you just you had me thinking. Actually, I was thinking Colombia, not Brazil, because
Yeah,
I said cartels. That would have been more. Well, you know me, Gonzo. I'm always going to find a message, no matter how deep I have to dig. So
I know, I know.
I came up with a couple of different messages here that I
Oh,
that I think positive message we can take away from this. Number one,
okay.
people can be capable of a lot more than they think, and sometimes it just takes being put in the right situation to find that out. Because even if we think the story was hokey, corny,
Yeah,
little fantastical, that's what happened. Especially with Violet, I think that was what pushed her over the edge to think, "Hey, look at what I was able to survive." I'm thinking I'm going to prison. I'm thinking I killed the boss, and I worked my way through that along with the other two women. So yeah, we can all learn a lot about ourselves. And number two, uh, don't be surprised if you're not happy and personally fulfilled working for a large faceless corporation. That is not what they're there for. So if you want that, if you want personal fulfillment, maybe starting your own business, creating your own job, creating your own path will give you a lot more personal satisfaction. But it also puts all the risk on your shoulders.
that's true. That's true. All right, all right. I hear you. And my personal thoughts on that too. Yeah, if you're working for a large company, I've worked for a couple large organizations, large companies. Like, and if you disagree with something that's going on, or the way someone's getting treated unfairly, or the way someone's getting treated favorably, and sometimes people get this attitude like, well, I'll just leave then. It's like, hey, they don't care. Like
Right.
you leave, everything's going to be happening tomorrow. Just going to be someone else doing it. They don't they don't care at all. They're not losing any sleep over that. No sleep whatsoever. So I hear you. You're pulling it a little bit on a moral of the story.
Yeah.
But I know I was like, oh, I know he's going to have to stretch this one because this thing is crazy here. So um, I give you a halfway on that. I guess I'll give it to you. But all right. So what's your overall take on this? Overall take on the movie, and then we're gonna make a recommendation here. What's your Oh, you watched it again as an adult?
Yeah, it was. I got to say, I was disappointed. And the best parallel I can give is uh, anybody that's, 30, 40, 50 years old. If think about your greatest science fiction or special effects movie that you remember from years ago,
Yep.
and in your mind, it is incredible. It's state of the art special effects. Then you go back and watch it, be like, okay, this is not what I remember this movie was like in my mind. That was just like this movie. It was better in my mind than when I went back to watch it. So, uh, I'm not going to beat it up too bad. It A lot of movies stood on its shoulders, and I think maybe took some plot devices and made some technically better movies.
Yeah.
But we
Okay.
could say that about a lot of movies.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I got to say, my take on it, I am shocked and surprised it did as well as it did at the box office. 109.6 million or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I thought way too corny, way too over the top,
Mhm.
and too much bad comedy. And like, I just, you have to immerse yourself in suspending your disbelief. Like it's the whole
Mhm.
time, like I'm like, I can, for a scene here or there, okay, maybe you can drag me into that, but just too much. So I'm really surprised it did as well as it did. That tells us a lot about the status of the society in 1980. I don't know how they're thinking this is that good.
No, you
Um,
You bring up a great point. So if I'm looking at it now, you're making me think. Let me see. I'm seeing the preview for this movie. I think for me, the only thing that would have drawn me in, and maybe it was big for a lot of people, I'm like, hey, Dolly Parton is in a movie,
yeah,
and there were a lot of people that really liked her music. She's a great singer. Like, I have to go see this. I have to go see what Dolly Parton is like in a movie.
yeah, maybe that's it. And then plus they see that and say, hey, Jane Fonda's in it too. She's a really great actress. She comes
Yeah.
from a great family of actors, right?
Hmm.
Um, so Henry Fonda is her father. Who was her brother? What's this? Can't even remember.
Peter,
Peter Fonda. Yeah.
Easy
So
Rider,
yeah, all big,
which I
big.
have never seen either. We may have
Okay.
to watch that one of these
Okay,
days.
there you go. There you go. I don't know if I've seen that all the way through straight. I'm not sure. I have to think about that. So is that Dennis Hopper in that too?
Yep.
Okay, so all right, so we're gonna move on. I just think too corny, too over the top. So we talk about watch it or trash it.
Yeah.
I will not keep a copy of this in my house. I will not. So if I have it, I'm gonna trash it.
Yeah.
What say you?
I say it's worth a watch, but I would just wait to watch it for free. I don't I think it's a movie that if you're not doing anything else, you see it on Amazon, Tubi, Pluto. Like we said, it wasn't as good as I remember. It does have a great cast,
And I
some
had to
fun.
pay for this. I had to pay for this because I was on Amazon. I had to pay like two. It was like 229.
I may have to reimburse you for this one.
All right, all right. So you're gonna say watch it or trash it? What
I,
you're
I have to say watch it because I picked it, but then when I went back and watched it, I said, okay, I could have probably picked something else here.
all right, all right. Very good. So we're gonna give it a rating. As you know, it's a 1 through 5 rating. So one, which is the worst, take a bathroom break. Don't even need to watch it.
Yeah,
Two is below average. You're like, hey, no snacks. I'm just going to sit and maybe scroll through my phone. An average rating is, hey, I'll sip a Coke while I watch this movie. Then better than
yeah,
average, Coke and a popcorn. And the best movies, just like our last one we did, a Coke, popcorn, and a box of Raisinets or Goobers in your case, or whatever candy people want to put in there.
yeah.
What is your rating? And I'm not going to give you mine. I'm taking yours first.
No, absolutely. Okay, this is the lowest rating I've given a movie so far, but I'm still not going for the bathroom break. I will give it a no snacks. Uh, if you're a Dolly Parton fan, it's worth watching just because the energy, the charisma she brings. Dolly, Lily, and Jane did have great chemistry. I tracked down some bloopers and outtakes. You can tell that they had a ball making it. And Lily Tomlin and Jane Fonda must have remained friends because they've worked together on a comedy series called Grace and Frankie over the last few years. I haven't watched it. I know it's out there. So it does have some redeeming qualities. It has a laugh or two here and there and a great song for the soundtrack. So I'll say no snacks.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, we're going to come in the same on this one. I'm saying no snacks because there, I probably could search and find a worse movie.
So it's possible.
Like, since it's possible that there's a worse movie out there, I'm
Yeah.
going to say no snacks. Like, it's on, I'm doing other things and just sort of scrolling on my phone or whatever. I'm not going to, if I've got to go up and go to the bathroom, I'm not going to hit pause. I'm just going. I'm just
Yeah.
going to. So it's almost close to a bathroom break, almost. But
Yeah.
it's. I'm going to set no snacks.
Hmm.
No snacks on the low side, if that
Yeah.
makes sense. So that's my rating. All right. So we came in on the same thing on that one. So um, one thing I want to do here, and real quick for some buddies of mine that are listening, I realized I went back and I'm jumping before we wrap this one up, Mike. I want to, if
Yeah.
there's any corrections that we ever have to make. When we talked in the last episode about Full Metal Jacket, and I was
Hmm.
talking about some stories from my basic training,
Yeah.
the guy who would throw a rock at your leg that I
Hmm.
told you about, the drill sergeant. It's drill
Yeah.
sergeant in the army, not drill instructor. So the drill sergeant who would throw a rock, he was not in my platoon because I looked at the old. They give you a yearbook that they make you buy. Like, here,
Hmm.
give us $5.
Oh yeah, we got one of
You're
those.
like, I don't want the book. They're like, you're taking the book, right?
Uh,
So I looked up. He was in second platoon, the next building over. But whenever we did things as a company, all the drill sergeants are messing with everybody. So okay, so I don't get called out from any of my buddies. There's one specifically I know who's listening who was
uh,
in my platoon, and I didn't want him to call me out and say, "Hey, he wasn't our drill sergeant." So that being said, there's my correction. You got any corrections or anything, Mike? Or are you good?
not yet. Not
Okay,
yet.
okay, very good. So um, all right, so there you go. We've got two people, two no snacks. This is the lowest movie we've rated then.
It is.
Yeah,
And I almost want to throw in a caveat.
yeah,
Look how many great movies there have been since the 1980. So if you and I were talking about this in 1981, it would probably be a different conversation. But just because there have been so many incredible movies, incredible comedies, it's just hard to stack up against that.
yeah, yeah. No, I hear you. I hear you. But this one was particularly corny. All right, so I think that's a wrap. We hit that one pretty well. So I'm gonna start wrapping this up here, Mike. Hey, thanks for listening to Gonzo, Mike, and a VCR. If you enjoyed it, follow us or subscribe, depending on the platform you're listening on. We would really appreciate it. If you have a movie you'd like us to watch, and I'm talking to people out there who already have commented, I said, send us an email. If you have a movie you want us to watch, you just have a comment you want to make, or even if you'd like to write us into your will and give us some money when you pass on there,
Oh,
shoot us an email at gonzomikevcr@gmail.com. Again, that's GONZOMIKEVCR at gmail.com. I'm checking that once daily, Mike. So in our next episode, hey, we're discussing a movie that is, in my opinion, an absolute 80s classic. I'm thinking, Mike, if you can't even claim you lived in the 80s if you haven't seen this film. Um, Tell them what it is, Mike.
so I think, if I'm not mistaken, this is another John Hughes classic.
Yes.
It's The Breakfast Club, and it's definitely one of those movies that brings back fond memories I have of being in detention back in high school.
There you go. There you go. Yes, and it is a Hughes film, and it is one of the ones he made off the three picture deal he got after the success of Mr. Mom when he wrote that one. So it's linked up, right? So but yeah, classic movie. We're gonna check it out, and that'll be, unless maybe if someone sends us an email and has a better pick, we can discuss offline. But right now the plan is Breakfast Club is next episode. So um I'm looking forward to it too. Well, folks, that's a wrap. I'm Gonzo.
I'm Mike.
Until next time, keep watching movies. Gonzo, Mike, and a VCR is produced by Gonzo and Mike. All rights reserved.